Good afternoon. Happy Sunday. I hope that it's been a wonderful week for you, that your life has changed in some amazing and delightful ways, and that what you hear this morning will just keep moving you further in that direction. That's that's my hope for you this morning, this afternoon. I still get caught up in that. Anyway, I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad you're here. I'm excited about what's going on in the world. I am excited about our opportunities to participate in making our world a better place. I am I'm excited about a whole bunch of stuff today. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and um, and I'm happy to be in it, as I trust you are as well. What is this trying to tell me up here? Oh, go away. These little things pop up and say, you need to read this right now. And I'm always kind of afraid that the whole computer will blow up if I don't. And it never does say anything like that. But caution, caution. Hello, Jennifer. Glad you're here. Hello, Dana. Hi. Cute. That looks like you. I like that. How are my girls? Hello, Kirk. Well, I'm having a good afternoon. I certainly hope you are. And I hope it just keeps getting better. That would be my dream for all of us. Is that every minute of every day our life just keeps getting better. A lot of things changed this week. A lot of big world things changed this week, and and a lot of little intimate, personal, individual things have changed this week. But that's all part of the evolution of spirit in this world. That things change for the better over time. Survival of the bestest. Glorious Sunday Jefferson, so glad you're here. Yay! I like seeing your little picture down there. It makes me happy. So, how is everybody today? How is your week? How did things move along for you? How are you feeling? What are you excited about? What are you in fear and trembling about? What's going on in your life? See, I always imagine all of you living happy, wonderful, successful, exciting, um, evolutionary, and sometimes revolutionary lives. But that's my vision of your life. And every once in a while, I like to do a check in with reality and see how I'm doing with my visions of your life. So, how are you? What's going on? What would you like to think about today? What would you like to talk about today? What would you like to change in your life today? I need to know all those things. Let's see. Let's see. Let me check in with you. Yeah, Donna, I'm with you, and I suspect we all are. Donna says when the inauguration went through without incident, my week was made. We all took a deep breath, didn't we? And I think we all just went. Phew. I mentioned on Wednesday that PG&E, in its wisdom, shut off our power last week for nearly 2 days, and it overlapped with the inauguration time. So all I could do was watch the inauguration on my phone, a little bitty square. I don't know how they fit all those people in there, but they did, and it was delightful to watch. Um, I've never appreciated my phone so much as I did during those few minutes. And the power came right back on at about 10 o'clock. Yeah. It's fine. I got to watch it. That's what mattered. Um, oh, Dana, okay. We'll put some more prayer on that. Well, look at who's here. Christina Hempstead, who had an extraordinary week. Want to tell us about it? Hmm? Had yet to be revealed. Yeah, I think there's a lot that is yet to be revealed, Jennifer, if we just keep watching and paying attention. I think so. I think so. I think we're going to learn a whole lot more than we knew before as time moves on. It should be an interesting week coming up, don't you think? Christina, are you going to chime in and fill us in? Are ya? Huh? My sweet little daughter? Who I think is officially a grown woman now, having just celebrated a birthday. A big birthday. Gonna tell us? Gonna tell us? Huh? Are you? I'm just waiting for some of you to pop in here and us a little bit more before I, you know, grab my notes and head off into what I am going to talk about. In 2017, Jefferson says he attended the Women's March on January 21st with DC area clergy. Yeah, I bet you have been reflecting on that a lot. Oh, how times have changed since 2017. What a great year to have been there, though. Wow. I'd love to talk to you about that sometime. Dana, I couldn't agree more. Heidi's in line at Magic Mountain to get her COVID shot. Yay, Heidi. Good for you. How did you get in? I keep running into things that say, the appointments are all full right now. Ah, Christina Hempstead, I love you. Oh, now you're giving away both of our ages, aren't you? Well, you were certainly surrounded by love. You certainly were. And your husband, to my understanding, did a great job of celebrating you, which, just ups him in my estimation even more, which is pretty difficult to up him anymore because he's way up there as it is. Yeah. 2017, the Women's March. Wonder how it might have been different if we had known then what we know now. I wonder. I mean, we'll never know. But I'm great at rewriting history in my mind. Oh, yes, Jefferson. Let's talk. Let's talk. I think we all felt it. Even from here in Cal, Women's March was prophetic. And people feeling the importance of being part of it. Jefferson talks about the darkness that fell over D.C. on Inauguration Day. What if we had known then? Oh, what if we had known a few months before that? what we know now. Well, we didn't. And we've been through a real learning experience, haven't we? Haven't we? Yeah, Jennifer, it did. We all felt it. And I think sometimes we weren't even entirely sure why. I mean, we kind of had a vague feeling we kind of knew. Have all of the information yet. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of weeks. Won't it? Won't it? We have, I suspect, a lot yet to learn. And a lot yet to process for ourselves. And a lot to remember. Let's think about that for a minute. Can we? Can we remember that all that there is God? Can we remember that every person is an expression of that spirit? Can we remember when we kind of almost don't want to remember that many people are out of touch with their divinity and their wholeness, and so they lash out at others. Things that some of us would label as bad if we labeled things as good and bad. But have we perhaps learned enough through this latest experience that it will make a difference? Have we? I wonder. I hope. I pray. Have we learned enough from that feeling, that vague, dark feeling of 2017? To make a difference? Hi, Laura. Glad you're here. Thank you, Jefferson. That's wonderful. Jefferson said that in the darkness he had to remind himself that the light had not completely gone out and that sustained him. See, I think that's where we need to go, folks. The light isn't out. Light's not out. Okay, so I'm going to jump into my notes. You keep writing. You guys are doing a great job here. And let me start this. Specifically because there were some of you who weren't with us on Wednesday, and so you don't know what I'm up to in this next week. And I want you to know. And it's been a week, hasn't it? It's been a week. Last Monday was Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I did talk about it Wednesday. But I kept having the feeling I was supposed to say more. Because his work has touched so many lives and made such a difference. And even though he's been gone for some time now, he still has an effect, a big effect, on what is going on in the world, particularly with the civil rights movement. So I started this talk so many times in my head that it was spinning. And then I realized that the problem was not that I didn't have an idea. I had an idea. My problem was that the idea I had already been spoken in words far more eloquent than anything I was coming up with. I wanted to speak to the impact of King's life. But what I discovered was that his wife had already spoken to that. And so I'd like to share her words with you. Speaking to the importance and the meaning of the holiday that had been proclaimed in Coretta Scott King said, "The Martin Luther King Jr. holiday celebrates the life and the legacy of a man who brought hope and healing to America." Hope and healing. We need more of that, don't we? She went on, "We commemorate as well the timeless values he taught us through his example. The values of courage, truth, justice, compassion, dignity, humility, and service that so radiantly defined his character and empowered his leadership. On this holiday," she said, "we commemorate the universal, unconditional love, forgiveness, and nonviolence that empowered his revolutionary spirit. We commemorate Dr. King's inspiring words because his voice and his vision filled a great void in our nation and answered our collective longing to become a country that truly lived by its noblest principles." Yet Dr. King knew that it wasn't enough just to talk the talk, that he had to walk the walk for his words to be credible. "And so we commemorate," she said, "the man of action who put his life on the line for freedom and justice every day. The man who braved threats and jail and beatings and who ultimately paid the highest price to make democracy a reality for all Americans." Dr. King once said that we all have to decide whether we will walk in the light of creative altruism or the darkness of destructive selfishness. Life's most persistent and nagging question, he said, is what are you doing for others? And he would quote Mark 9:35, the scripture in which Jesus of Nazareth tells James and John, "Whosoever will be great among you will be your servant. And whosoever among you will be the first shall be the servant of all." Above all, I believe, Martin Luther King Jr. had courage and conviction. And at every opportunity, he did walk his talk. On the evening of a protest march, King gave a speech in support of striking garbage workers in Memphis, Tennessee. In that speech, he said, "Something is happening in Memphis. Something is happening in our world. And if I were standing at the beginning of time, with the possibility of taking a kind of general and panoramic of human history up until now, and the Almighty said to me, 'Martin Luther King, which age would you like to live in?' I would take my mental flight by Egypt. And I would watch God's children in their magnificent trek from the dark dungeons of Egypt through, or rather across, the Red Sea, through the wilderness on toward the promised land. And in spite of its magnificence, I would not stop there. I would move on by Greece and take my mind to Mount Olympus. And I would see Plato and Aristotle and Socrates and Euripides and Aristophanes assembled around the Parthenon. And I would watch them around the Parthenon as they discussed the great and eternal issues of reality. But I wouldn't stop there. I would go on, even to the great heyday of the Roman Empire, and I would see developments around there through various emperors and leaders. But I wouldn't stop there. I would even come up to the day of the Renaissance and get a quick picture of all that the Renaissance did for the cultural and aesthetic life of man. But I wouldn't stop there. I would even go by the way that the man for whom I am named had his habitat, and I would watch Martin Luther as he tacked his 95 Theses on the door at the Church of Wittenberg. But I wouldn't stop there. I would come up even to 1863 and watch a vacillating president by the name of Abraham Lincoln finally come to the conclusion that he had to sign the Emancipation Proclamation. But I wouldn't stop there. I would even come up to the early 30s and see a man grappling with the problems of the bankruptcy of his nation, and come with an eloquent cry that we have nothing to fear but fear itself. But I wouldn't stop there. Strangely enough, I would turn to the Almighty and say, if you allow me to live just a few years in the second half of the 20th century, I will be happy. Now, that's a strange statement to make, he said, because the world is all messed up. The nation is sick, trouble is in the land, confusion all around. That's a strange statement. But I know somehow that only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. And I see God working in this period of the in a way that men, in some strange way, are responding. And another reason that I'm happy to live in this period is that we have been forced to a point where we are going to have to grapple with the problems that men have been trying to grapple with through history. But the demands didn't force them to do it. Survival demands that we grapple with them. Men for years now have been talking about war and peace. But now no longer can they just talk about it. It is no longer a choice between violence and nonviolence in this world. It's nonviolence or non-existence. That is where we are today. King went on to point out some nonviolent steps that could be taken to make a difference, to really help those in need without conflict, without argument, without hostility. 5 years earlier at the Lincoln Memorial, King told the world about his dream for a better America, for a better world. He had the courage to deliver his message, and his message was loud and it was clear. No one of us is truly free until everyone is free. It is our job, I believe, not to complain about the state of the world or of the nation, but to do something, however small it may seem, to make things better. Complaining just adds to the noise, and there's enough of that. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more action. And I believe more prayer. Not prayer to fix things or to fix other people, but prayer that supports the prayer to become a better person. There's much we can do. We can be kind. We can listen. We can try to see another's point of view. We can shift our perspective. We can promote peace in our family. We can promote peace in our community. We can be a place of peace in our world. And we can pray. We can pray to be the most Christ-like, God-like person we are capable of being. Our lives, like kings, are our message. But it takes courage to truly live them. We may not move legions of people, but our actions or our words may change one person, may move one person, who then moves legions of people. Because with all my heart, I believe in his message. And because with all my heart, I believe that peace is a dream that can become a reality. Because of all of that, I have decided once again to participate in the 64-day season for nonviolence that honors both Dr. King and Gandhi. The annual 64-day season for nonviolence will begin Saturday, January 30th. The season, which was launched at the United Nations in 1998, marks the annual 64 calendar days between the memorial anniversary of the assassination of Gandhi on January 30th and that of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King on April 4th. 64 days. The purpose of which is to focus our attention on the idea of attaining peace through non-violent action. So it is my intention, starting next Saturday, to post a daily word and an affirmation in support of creating peace through non-violent action. This year, the first word to begin the 64 days is, appropriately, I believe, courage. Rather than recreating the wheel or confusing someone who may come across my page who has already started celebrating the 64 days, I'll be taking my posts from the website for the 64 days that can be found at agnt.org, and then go up to the top boxes and find special events and click on that, and you will find the 64-day program there. You can also find other ideas for participating in the 64-day program. Please do not limit yourself to just reading what I post. It's important, I think, that we remember that peace and love and equality and the recognition that Black Lives Matter and all lives matter is an ongoing process. It won't happen overnight, unless, of course, it does. I'm open to that. But I suspect because of who we are and the way we are, it will take some time. I feel we took a great step forward this week on Inauguration Day. Our new president repeated the word unity over and over and over again. And he ended with the words, "God bless America." And he thanked our troops. And he doesn't know what will happen now. He has his plans. We don't know what's going to happen now any more than we knew in 1917 what was going to happen. And we're not alone. Ultimately, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King ended his speech with these words. "Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop, and I don't mind." Like anybody, he said, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go to the mountaintop, and I have looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as a people, will get to the promised land. And I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. I've seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Martin Luther King Jr. gave this speech on April 3rd, 1968. The next day, he was assassinated. There are many reasons why we collectively have set aside a day to honor the man and his work. Coretta Scott King listed many more reasons to celebrate the Reverend Martin Luther King than I have read. But she ended her explanation with these words. We call you to commemorate his life by making your personal commitment to serve humanity. To serve humanity with the vibrant spirit of unconditional love that was his greatest strength, and which empowered all of the great victories of his leadership. And with our hearts open to this spirit of unconditional love, we can indeed achieve the beloved community of Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream. It's a small thing, but sometimes we are called to do small things. The season for nonviolence begins on Saturday, January 30th. You can jump in anytime you want. I believe we are meant to take the 64 days and remember and think about the lessons that King and Gandhi not only taught, but lived by and died for. Let it not be just an exercise. May we, in our lives, for the 64 days, anoint this as a holy time. A time in which we reconnect with the power within us to let our words and our thoughts make a difference. And may we rededicate ourselves to open hearts and unconditional love. May we, in the days to follow, hear their eloquent voices. May we really hear what they were saying, they and the other. Ultimately, these were the voices that in our own time repeated a 2,000-year-old lesson, that the lesson may endure. We must find the way. In this, the 21st century, to love one another, to listen to one another, to finally, ultimately realize that there really isn't an other, that we are all one. And the one that we are is the spirit of creation. And we are in it together. May we who are privileged to celebrate Martin Luther King Day this past week, and to look forward to the 64-day season for nonviolence, may we now pledge ourselves to promote those teachings, to serve humanity, to carry forward the legacy of those who dared, until the day when their dream becomes our reality. Starting next Saturday, check back on the same page. Read the word. Let it sink into your soul. And then ask yourself how you can best exemplify that word in the world that day. How can you, by your life, be an example of that which we all need to believe in? And don't stop there. There is more we can all do, but start with this, a small thing. Because enough small things add up. Do something, he said, however small it may seem, to make things better. Be kind. Listen. Remember that your life is your message. What message are you sending? I invite you to be back here starting next Saturday. Just check in. There's nothing more you need to do. Comment if you feel up to doing that. But listen. You, whether you realize it or not, make a difference. May that difference be profound. May you, through your love, your kindness, change the world. That's my 2 cents worth for now. I'm excited about participating in the 64 days again. It's been a while. I'm excited about it. And if you have participated, please let me know. I'm wide open. We can make a difference, my friends. We can. And you never know who's listening or watching or paying attention or not. Which means you have to live consciously all of the time, just in case. You know, there's a story, and I don't remember who it is, so I'm going to say it was Shakespeare, because why not? That there was a night he was going to go on and give a presentation of one of his works, and he looked out through the curtains just before he was supposed to go on, and there was only one person in the audience. And he thought about just canceling. He thought about it for a few moments, encouraged by a few other people. It's just, what difference will one person make? And he said, no. They showed up, I'm going to show up. Or whatever Shakespeare would have said that was the equivalent of that. And he went on and gave his speech, which was about transformation of the monarchy, and learned later that the one person in the audience was the king. And he saw, as he watched history unfold, where the king had taken note of some of his comments and was making some changes. You never know who's listening, who's watching, who's paying attention. You never know who you affect that may affect someone else. In my time at Spirit Works, which I hold very tenderly in my heart, we did a lot of things. A lot of people came through our doors and stayed and learned and then moved on. There's several ministers out in the field that started out, some of them in the very back row of the church. You know how I feel about that. I love the back row. Gets people in. And I have watched how some of those people, many of those people, have gone on and touched lives. David Bruner in San Jose is doing remarkable work and has rebuilt that church, and it's alive and energetic, and they love him. Edward Villoon, who is in Santa Rosa, is currently the president of Centers for Spiritual Living, the spiritual head of the organization. I'm very proud of him. You never know who you may affect, who may hear something in a new way because you've said it. So don't be afraid to say it. You never know what lives you may affect with something small. So do it. Thank you, Jefferson. Thank you, Dana. Too. I did. And we're just going to do the same because the current situation requires that of us. Amen, Jefferson. Amen. Let's pray. And join me if you will. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, or just soft focus. Whatever works for you. Must be God calling. It's the county of Ventura. They usually call to say things like there's a see, now I'm. They're usually called to tell us that there's a frost warning, or which I don't think there is today, although it is cool out there. Let's get back to prayer. And join me, if you will, in knowing, really knowing, really us and the appearances, to know that all that there is God. Everyone, everything is an expression of that. Some know it and live it. Some know it and attempt to live it sometimes. And some are totally unaware of it. And it is, I think, our job not to preach or to try to bend or convert, but simply to live. To be living examples of what we believe. We change the world by our presence. And so I know for each of us today that our knowing expands, and our living what we know expands even more. And that we are touched in a deep and abiding way by the truth of our own divinity, the truth of our own life in God. And because of that, we step forward into life in ways that we might not have dared dream before. And we are transformed by our knowledge as we transform our world. What we know is mighty. What we live is courageous. What we are is an expression of the divine. Each of us, all of us, without exception. And so we seek to find that recognition in others, not that they must see it in us, but that we must see it in them in order to make the change that creates the higher reality. And so we are at peace today. We are peace today, that we may bring peace to the world. We are kindness today, that we may be kind to the world. We are love today, that love may find its way into the world as us and through us. And we are courageous today, that others may as well be inspired by our courage and act accordingly. It is noble to be godlike. It is our calling. And when that still small voice, or the voice of thunder that speaks in our head, says, "Who shall I send?" we reply simply, "Here I am. Send me." Our work blesses the world, and we too are blessed by it. Gratefully, we let that be so. And so it is. I love you all so much. My life, and you allow me the place to do what I feel called to do. And I am very, very grateful for all of that. May you have an amazing week. To again on Wednesday at 7 p.m., same place. And then starting Saturday, just once a day, just check in, see what the word is, see how you can apply it to your life. Starting Saturday for the following 64 days. And of course, next Sunday, once again. No long talk for the 64 days, just a word and maybe a candle. I love you. I'm grateful for you. Go forth. You have work to do. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your life. Enjoy the spirit within you, and bring friends and come celebrate. That's why we're here.